Ever feel like your grocery cart has developed a secret appetite? One that's totally out of sync with your
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
You're definitely not imagining things. And today on the Deep Dive, we're plunging into, well, a whole heap of consumer news, trying to figure out why that happens, plus a lot more about the trends shaping what we buy and, how we live.
That's right. Forget endless scrolling. We've basically boiled down today's key consumer insights from consumers.app, that's our daily digest, May03'25, Consumers 360.
Giving you the stuff you need to know, minus the overload.
Exactly.
Okay, let's kick things off with something that hits us all right in the wallet. Groceries. Our aggregator flagged a headline from AOL. It really stopped me.
Yeah, which one?
Nevadans spend 10% of their income on groceries the most in the U.S. How some families are making ends meet.
Wow. 10%.
It really is.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how that stacks up nationally.
Right.
But why Nevada specifically? Any ideas?
Well, it's a really telling snapshot, isn't it, of these localized economic pressures. What's fascinating is the mix of things pushing those costs up.
Like what?
The report mentions ongoing supply chain kinks, sure, but it also highlights, interestingly, that major food manufacturers have actually increased their gross margins.
So their profit per item.
Precisely, their take. Then you add labor shortages and this cumulative inflation rate in Nevada, nearly 22% in just the food sector.
22%.
Yeah, which is, significantly higher than the national average. So it's not just general inflation hitting everyone. Nevada seems to have some maybe specific vulnerabilities in its regional supply or market setup.
So, okay, with such a huge chunk of income going just on food, how are families there actually managing? What are they doing?
The article, it shines a light on some pretty resourceful strategies. We're seeing a return to those tried and true methods, really.
Like bulk buying?
Yeah, buying in larger quantities when they can, opting for generic store brands over the more expensive name brands.
Thanks.
And really focusing on detailed meal planning, just trying to cut down on any food waste. It's about maximizing every single dollar when those dollars are stretched so thin.
But it's not all, doom and gloom on the grocery front. I saw a mention about technology maybe offering some relief from this inflation pinch.
Right. And this brings up a bigger point about how tech is kind of reshaping retail generally.
Also,
the piece touches on using AI, data analytics, basically optimizing the behind-the-scenes stuff, logistics, inventory management.
Okay.
There's retail analytics in the new normal. It talks about how AI algorithms can analyze weather patterns, transport delays, even social media trends.
Really? Social media?
Yeah, to predict how much of each product is needed where. It's this kind of smart stocking. The goal is a more efficient supply chain, which could eventually mean lower costs for you at the checkout. Eventually.
But in the meantime, if healthy food costs keep rising, that must be a knock-on effect on people's health, surely.
Absolutely. The aggregator doesn't shy away from that. The negative impact of this food inflation on Nevadans' health is clear.
How does that play out?
Well, when your food budget tightens, access to nutritious options often gets limited. It can lead to food insecurity, maybe a greater reliance on cheaper, often less healthy processed foods.
And the long-term public health implications.
Yeah, definitely a concern.
On a slightly more futuristic note, the aggregator also mentions smart home tech. Sounds like our kitchens are getting an upgrade.
Yeah, maybe. What's interesting here is the development of these vision-based automatic grocery tracking systems.
Vision-based, like cameras.
Exactly. Imagine cameras in your fridge identifying what food you have, what's running low. There's research on this vision-based automatic groceries tracking system, smart homes. It suggests a future where these systems could maybe automate reordering, help households track food better, cut waste.
That could be handy.
Potentially, yeah.
And what about community efforts? I noticed food co-ops mentioned. Are they helping?
They really are. Community-based food cooperatives are proving valuable, especially now. They can often offer more affordable access to fresh, healthy foods.
How? By cutting out the middleman.
Pretty much. Focusing on community needs, which is particularly helpful for lower-income households feeling that squeeze from rising prices.
So looking at the bigger picture then, what really needs to happen to tackle these rising food costs?
Yeah.
Individual efforts, they only go so far.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it probably needs a multifaceted approach.
Like what sort of things?
Could involve efforts to streamline supply chains even further, maybe encouraging more competition among grocery retailers, supporting local food production to shorten those supply lines.
Makes sense.
And maybe even policy interventions, providing support for those most vulnerable to these price hikes.
It's really vital points there. Okay, switching gears slightly, where we actually do this shopping. Our aggregator also picked up a headline from the Mirror. It declares, cheapest supermarket for April 2025 named, and it's 48.8 less than most expensive.
48 pounds. That's a pretty hefty saving.
It really is. So who came out on top?
Well, what's interesting here is that the consumer group, which they do these comparisons, regularly identified Aldi as the cheapest UK supermarket for April 2025.
Aldi, okay.
Yeah. Their basket of everyday groceries was $135.95. And that was indeed $48 less than the cost at the most expensive unnamed competitor. It really highlights the big price differences you can find just by switching stores.
And what about all those loyalty programs? We're constantly signing up for them. Do they actually level the playing field much?
That's a really important question, isn't it? The real-world impact of these schemes.
Yeah.
So programs like Little Plus, Tesco's Club Card, they definitely offer discounts and perks. But the article points out, even after applying those benefits, a similar basket costs $136.64 at Lidl with their app and $151.11 at Tesco using a Club Card.
So still more expensive than Aldi, even with the loyalty card.
Exactly. So while loyalty programs offer value, the fundamental pricing strategy of a discounter like Aldi can still mean a lower overall bill.
It makes you wonder about all the data these supermarkets are gathering through those loyalty schemes.
Oh, absolutely. What's interesting here is the sophisticated use of data mining in retail. Supermarkets analyze just vast amounts of purchase data, looking for patterns in what we buy.
How do they use that?
Well, models like the generalized profit model are used to optimize product placement on shelves, tailor marketing.
For personalized offers and things.
Right, which can be convenient, but it also raises questions, Data privacy, and does this data collection truly lead to lower prices for the average shopper, or just better targeting?
Good question. And it's not just about what we put in our baskets, is it? It's also how supermarkets are watching us in the store. I remember seeing something about computer vision.
Exactly. These advancements in computer vision tech are allowing retailers to get a deeper understanding of how we navigate their physical spaces.
How does that work? Cameras tracking us.
Pretty much. Research towards in-store multi-person tracking mentions using cameras and AI to track customer movement, dwell times, basically where you stop and look.
They use that info for?
To inform store layouts, product placement decisions, all aimed at influencing what we ultimately decide to buy.
So all these pieces, inflation, pricing, loyalty schemes, even this in-store tech, they're all part of a bigger picture affecting what we pay.
Precisely. Like we saw with Nevada, inflation puts pressure on shoppers, makes us more price conscious, actively looking for deals. And that, in turn, influences how supermarkets set their prices and how they try to attract and keep us, through all these different strategies.
I also noticed mention of sustainability and product labeling. That feels like something more and more people are looking for.
Definitely. And what's encouraging here is the development of initiatives like the Scale Score.
Scale Score, what's that?
Research is looking at how to effectively combine nutritional info with environmental impact data right there on the label.
Oh, interesting. So you can see both at once.
Right. The goal is to empower you, the shopper, to make more informed choices, considering both your personal health and the planet's health. But, the research also suggests the current versions could still be improved to better support sustainability goals. It's evolving.
Gotcha. And finally, on supermarkets. Seems like they're getting really good at predicting what we want. Personalized pricing, product recommendations.
This is where advanced tech like AI and these synthetic data models like Retail Synth come in.
Synthetic data.
Yeah, generating artificial data that mimics real shopper behavior. These tools let supermarkets analyze massive data sets to offer tailored prices, tailored suggestions, aiming to make shopping more convenient and, let's be honest, boost their sales.
Okay, let's shift focus now to fashion, another big area of consumer spending. Our aggregator highlighted an article from India Retailing, The Future of Omnichannel Fashion Retail in the AI Era. Sounds like a major transformation.
It really is. What's fascinating here is how AI is becoming central to creating that seamless blend between online and physical shopping in fashion. That's the omnichannel idea.
Right, connecting the app, the website, the store.
Exactly. AI is being used to personalize everything, from product recommendations online to customer service you get. And it's also driving efficiencies behind the scenes, managing inventory, predicting fashion trends.
Then how do all the different ways we can actually get the clothes, delivery, buy online, pick up in store, BOPS, just walking in, how do those options influence what we choose or what retailers offer?
Well, this brings up the idea of fulfillment strategies. Research in price and fulfillment strategies in omnichannel retailing shows retailers are strategically adjusting prices and offers based on how you choose to receive your stuff.
For example,
they might offer discounts for picking up in-store, saves them shipping costs, right? Or maybe incentivize delivery for customers further away. It's all part of the calculation.
And we keep coming back to inflation. How's that hitting the fashion industry's adoption of these new technologies? Is it speeding it up?
Actually, yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this current period of retail inflation is accelerating the adoption of tech like AI and the Internet of Things, IoT, in fashion.
As a cost-cutting measure.
Essentially, yes. For instance, AI-powered predictive analytics mentioned in Can Digital Technologies Help Retailers Battle Inflation can help retailers forecast demand more accurately.
So they don't overstock or understock as much.
Exactly. Optimize inventory, marketing spend, ultimately trying to soften the blow of rising costs.
But the basic economics still apply, right? Supply and demand in fashion.
Oh, absolutely. As highlighted by law of supply and demand for apparel, those fundamentals are still major drivers of pricing. Limited supply, high demand equals higher prices, and vice versa.
So brands are using tech to manage that better.
They're increasingly relying on sophisticated demand forecasting tools, trying to keep that delicate balance in their supply chains.
But putting all this AI and omnichannel tech in place, it can't be easy for retailers, can it? What are the main hurdles?
No, it's definitely not a walk in the park. They're grappling with several key challenges. Data privacy is a big one.
Right. Handling customer data responsibly.
Especially with AI analyzing so much personal info. Then there's just the complexity of integrating these new AI systems with their existing tech.
Getting everything to talk to each other.
Yeah. And finally, making sure these tech advances actually enhance the customer experience, not detract from that human connection many shoppers still value.
I also saw mention of something called a bimodal inventory optimization strategy. Sounds technical.
It's basically a way for retailers to manage their stock by preparing for two things: predictable customer demand and those unexpected spikes or drops in sales.
So planning for the normal and the abnormal.
Kind of, yeah. It's about building a resilient inventory system that can handle both, trying to maximize profit while minimizing losses from having too much or too little stock.
So technology really is the linchpin then, for fashion retailers trying to navigate all these economic pressures, logistical challenges.
That's really the key takeaway. From automating warehouse processes to personalized shopping via AI, tech is enabling fashion retailers to streamline operations, engage better with you, the customer, and ultimately try to weather these ongoing challenges of inflation and supply chain issues.
Okay, let's pivot now to something maybe more fundamental to our well-being: health. Our aggregator flagged an article from Bristol Live via MSN.com. The headline really resonates, I think. Doctor says feeling hungry or tired even when eating healthy could be nutrient red flag. Why might that be?
Yeah, that's a common feeling. It often points to a potential lack of key nutrients, and one of the most crucial is protein.
Protein.
Consumers' research really dug into why protein is so essential. At its core, it's the fundamental building block for almost all tissues in our bodies: muscles, bones, skin, organs.
Everything.
Pretty much. It's also vital for repairing damage, transporting oxygen, maintaining healthy cells. We just need a consistent intake to support all these ongoing processes.
And how does protein specifically relate to feeling hungry or tired, even if we think we're eating okay?
What's significant is how protein interacts with our blood sugar. Unlike carbs, which can cause those rapid spikes and crashes.
The sugar rush and then the slump.
Exactly. Protein has a much more stabilizing effect. This steady energy release helps reduce that nagging hunger, prevents energy dips, makes it easier to avoid cravings, especially for sugary or processed stuff.
There's always new research around diet and exercise. What are some recent findings about protein and muscle?
Well, current research really emphasizes protein consumption after physical activity. To maximize muscle protein synthesis, that's the repair and building process.
How much protein are we talking?
Studies suggest around 20 to 25 grams of high-quality protein in the hours after exercise seems optimal to really stimulate that process. And interestingly, some research also suggests protein before sleep can help overnight muscle recovery.
That's useful info for anyone trying to build or keep muscle. What about as we age? Do our protein needs change?
They absolutely do. As we get older, our bodies become less efficient at building and keeping muscle mass. It's a condition called sarcopenia.
Right, muscle loss with age.
So a slightly higher protein intake, especially combined with resistance exercise, becomes increasingly important for older adults. Helps preserve muscle strength, maintain mobility, prevent falls.
Are certain types of protein better for that?
Some evidence suggests types rich in the amino acid leucine, and whey protein can be particularly beneficial for older adults.
So it sounds like our food choices, especially protein, link directly not just to how we feel daily, but also our long-term health, our vitality.
That's a crucial connection. Getting enough protein as part of a balanced diet is fundamental, supports so many bodily functions, can play a big role in preventing chronic diseases, potentially contributing to both a longer life and a higher quality of life as we age.
And if we get injured, does protein play a special role in recovery?
Absolutely vital. Protein is essential for repairing and regenerating tissues damaged by injury, rebuilding muscle, skin, connective tissues. So getting enough protein is key for effective recovery.
And finally on protein.
Yeah.
How does it tie into exercise performance, getting stronger?
It's integral to both recovery and building strength. It helps repair those microscopic muscle tears from exercise, provides the building blocks for new muscle tissue.
So post-workout protein is important for that too.
Yeah. Getting enough protein, especially in that post-workout window, optimizes recovery, enhances muscle growth, and ultimately supports better exercise performance, particularly with strength training.
Okay, from the microscopic level of muscles to the grand scale of longevity, our aggregator also highlighted an uplifting story. Associated Press News via MSN.com. A 115-year-old British woman, now the world's oldest, gives her recipe to long life. We're all ears. What's her secret?
Well, what's rather charming is that Ethel May Caterham, who's reached the amazing age of 115, she attributes her long life simply to avoiding arguments.
Avoiding arguments, really?
That's what she says, a gentle reminder that maybe, a peaceful existence helps with longevity and well-being.
Wow, 115. She's seen so much. Is there, like, an official group that tracks these incredible people and studies them?
Yes, there is. The Gerontology Research Group. They're dedicated to meticulously validating the ages of supercentenarians, that's people 110 and older, and they do vital research into the factors behind exceptional longevity. Their work is crucial for understanding aging.
Beyond avoiding arguments, what are some of the more, say, evidence-based findings in longevity research these days?
Well, current research is looking at a whole range of factors. One interesting area is how our urban environments impact health and frailty in older adults.
How so?
Studies are examining how access to green spaces, healthcare facilities within cities might influence frailty levels. Another key area is the financial side of longer lives. Research looking at financial tools to manage the risks for pension funds.
You mentioned frailty syndrome. What is that exactly, and how might our surroundings affect it?
Frailty syndrome is basically a state of increased vulnerability to stressors in older adults, makes them more susceptible to falls, illness, disability. And research suggests urban planning, the characteristics of where we live, can play a role. Things like distance to emergency services, availability of safe walking paths, parks. They've been linked to different frailty levels. It really underscores how our immediate surroundings impact health as we age.
And with more people living longer, that inevitably puts pressure on systems like pensions.
Right. That's a huge consideration. Increasing longevity creates challenges for pension schemes, making sure they have enough funds for the long haul.
Are there solutions being proposed?
Yeah, things like developing and using financial tools like longevity bonds. They're specifically designed to hedge against the financial risks of people living longer than the models predict.
Demographically speaking, what are the big trends in human lifespan? Are we just living longer and longer?
Analyses are showing interesting trends. One is mortality deceleration, meaning the rate mortality risk increases actually slows down at very advanced ages.
Interesting.
Researchers are using complex mathematical models to see if there's a theoretical upper limit to human lifespan and how demographics influence these patterns.
It's truly remarkable thinking about someone living to 115. What does that tell us about human health progress over the last century or so?
While the existence of verified supercontinarians like Ethel is really a powerful testament to the huge advancements we've made, healthcare, sanitation, nutrition, general living conditions,
Yeah.
while reaching that age is still very rare, it highlights the incredible potential for human longevity and underscores why continued progress in health sciences and public health is so important.
Now, the pandemic. It's had such a profound, lasting impact. Our aggregator included a reflective piece from CNN International via MSN.com, a high school senior sharing her perspective on how the pandemic shaped her adolescence. It's quite poignant, reminds you of the unique challenges young people face.
It really is. And consumers research looked into the broader consequences for education globally. The findings reveal just widespread disruptions, school closures affecting billions of students worldwide.
And the shift to online learning.
Yeah, that starkly exposed the digital divide, didn't it? Unequal access to tech, reliable internet. It had a significant impact on learning outcomes, especially for students from disadvantaged backgrounds.
We all had to adapt to remote learning, but how well did adolescents specifically navigate that shift? Was it effective?
Well, research is still analyzing that. Studies are using data analysis to refine models, trying to understand the factors that influence their learning experiences and figure out how to provide better support during transitions like that.
The mental health toll on adolescents during that time was also a huge concern, wasn't it?
Tragically, yes. Big increases in anxiety, depression, feelings of isolation. Research efforts are focusing on developing and evaluating interventions within schools, trying to provide much-needed mental health support, teaching coping mechanisms like emotion regulation.
Academically, how did high school students in the U.S. fare? We heard a lot about learning loss.
Unfortunately, multiple studies point to significant declines in academic performance, particularly in math and reading. Many students are, frankly, still struggling to catch up from those disruptions.
Were there any maybe unexpected positives or helpful educational tools that emerged? I think I saw something about game-based learning.
Yeah, what's interesting is the increased recognition and use of digital and game-based learning resources. Research suggests these interactive tools can be effective in engaging adolescents, improving their understanding of various topics, including important health info.
Looking ahead, what are the potential long-term consequences of all this disruption for their education, future opportunities?
The long-term implications are definitely concerning. These learning disruptions are projected to lead to substantial educational deficits for many, which could translate into reduced lifetime earnings, lower economic productivity overall,
and widening inequalities.
Sadly, yes. These negative impacts are likely to hit students from disadvantaged backgrounds hardest, potentially widening those existing social and economic gaps.
And those existing inequalities were really thrown into sharp relief by the school closures, weren't they?
Absolutely. The pandemic starkly highlighted deep-seated disparities. Students from marginalized backgrounds often lacked access to essentials, reliable internet, devices, supportive learning environments at home. It just exacerbated pre-existing challenges like food insecurity, lack of childcare.
Okay, moving to another crucial health aspect. Our aggregator highlighted a study featured on MSN.com. Having biological age, older than actual age, significantly raises dementia risk. That's quite a sobering thought.
It is a serious consideration, yeah. But maybe also one that empowers us to take proactive steps. The research suggests if your biological age, basically how your body systems are aging, is older than your chronological age.
It's a number of candles on the cake.
Right. Then your risk of developing dementia is significantly higher by about 30%. And this holds true even when you account for other known risk factors.
Biological age versus chronological age. That's key. How do scientists actually measure biological age? It's not just looking in the mirror, right?
No. It's assessed by examining various measurable indicators of aging biomarkers. Things like lung function, blood pressure, cholesterol.
Oh, yeah.
And even more sophisticated measures like DNA methylation patterns, chemical changes to our DNA that happen over time. So unlike chronological age, which is fixed, biological age reflects the actual physiological state of your body. And it can vary a lot between people of the same chronological age.
And we're getting better at using these biological age measures to predict dementia risk.
What's promising is the development of advanced predictive models using machine learning, network systems biology, assessing individual dementia risk based on biological age.
How accurate are these models?
Well, they analyze a wide range of interconnected factors and have shown significant accuracy. Research highlighted reported high levels of sensitivity and specificity in predicting risk.
Does this accelerated biological aging actually affect the brain's physical structure? We see it.
Research using brain imaging indicates yes, it is associated with reductions in volume and integrity of specific brain regions, especially those critical for memory and cognitive functions.
Wow.
These structural changes are thought to be part of the biological mechanisms contributing to that increased dementia risk with older biological age.
But the encouraging part is that our lifestyle choices might impact our biological age, right? We have some control.
Exactly. That's the crucial takeaway. A growing body of evidence suggests lifestyle modifications, healthy diet, regular exercise, managing stress effectively can positively influence biological age.
So we can potentially slow it down.
By making these healthy choices, we might be able to slow the rate of our biological aging and potentially reduce our risk of age-related diseases like dementia.
Could you give a few more examples of those biomarkers used to determine biological age?
Sure. Besides blood pressure and cholesterol, measures of immune system function, levels of certain inflammatory markers, telomere length, those protective caps on our chromosomes,
Right.
and as mentioned, DNA methylation patterns, those chemical tags on DNA indicative of aging.
And are there potential interventions being explored to actually delay aging itself
Right.
and reduce these related diseases?
Research is actively investigating various possibilities. Lifestyle approaches like calorie restriction, consistent exercise, but also ongoing exploration into potential genetic and pharmacological interventions.
But these are still experimental.
Largely, yes. It's important to note many are still in experimental stages. They need a much more rigorous scientific evaluation to determine long-term effectiveness and safety in humans.
Okay, shifting gears completely now.
Yeah.
To a different realm of behavior, pets. Our aggregator pointed to an AOL article, The Mystery of Why Your Dog's Behavior Gets Worse Before It Gets Better. Anyone with a dog has likely lived through this frustration.
Oh, absolutely. The extinction burst. It often happens when you're trying to stop an unwanted attention-seeking behavior, like barking or jumping.
Right.
If you just start ignoring the behavior without also addressing the underlying need or giving an alternative outlet, the dog often escalates.
It's worse.
Yeah, sometimes more intense, or they might try new, even more annoying things. It's a final attempt to get your attention back.
So just ignoring the whining or pawing isn't always the best strategy on its own.
That's right. Ignoring it for short, specific periods can be part of a plan, but it's crucial to also make sure all the dog's basic needs are met. Exercise, mental stimulation, social interaction,
Okay.
and identify and manage triggers, and most importantly, teach your dog alternative, acceptable ways to get your attention. A consistent, structured environment helps a lot too.
It's fascinating how our pets adapt to living in our very human world. What's recent research telling us about dog behavior in these settings?
Well, research into free-ranging dogs in urban areas, like a study on dogs at seasonal fairs, gives valuable insights into their adaptability.
Dogs at fairs.
Yeah. These dogs adjust their behavior based on resource availability, food, and human activity levels. Dogs near reliable food sources tend to be more stable. Those where food is scarce might be more competitive, even aggressive.
So dogs are basically creating a mental map, noting where resources are, how to get them.
That's the idea of cognitive mapping. They use their cognitive abilities to navigate and remember locations. The different behaviors seen in resource-rich versus resource-poor areas highlight their capacity to learn and adapt based on understanding their surroundings.
When it comes to those annoying, attention-seeking behaviors in our own dogs, is it generally better to tackle them early on?
Definitely. Early intervention is often key, helping puppies develop good habits, learn impulse control. By consistently, calmly ignoring attention-seeking for brief moments from a young age while rewarding calm, appropriate behavior. Owners can gradually teach more desirable ways to interact, prevents problematic patterns getting ingrained.
What are some expert-recommended strategies to prevent these behaviors developing in the first place?
Experts really emphasize proactively meeting your dog's needs. Physical exercise, mental stimulation puzzle toys, training social interaction, plus managing their environment to minimize triggers, and consistently rewarding good, calm behavior while ignoring the attention-seeking stuff when it's safe to do so. Positive reinforcement training is highly recommended.
And what can we learn about our pets from observing these free-ranging dogs at fairs? Seems unusual, but maybe informative.
Studying free-ranging dogs in human-influenced places gives us valuable insights into their natural adaptability, cognitive flexibility, how they navigate complex social and resource situations.
How does that help us with our pets?
Understanding these inherent behaviors can inform our own management strategies, emphasizing the importance of providing for their needs in ways that align with their natural instincts and cognitive abilities, ultimately leading to a more harmonious relationship.
Okay, finally, let's turn to how we get information, stay informed. Our aggregator featured a piece from Tech Bullion about independent media and the rise of alternative news platforms. The media landscape has certainly changed dramatically.
It really has. And social media platforms. They've become a dominant force in how many people consume news.
A primary source for a lot of people.
For a significant portion, yeah. Offering user-generated content, diverse ways to engage with stories. But this also presents huge challenges, particularly the risk of encountering and maybe spreading misinformation. We all know about that.
Right. So what role do independent media outlets play in this changing landscape?
That's a bad question.
Especially holding power accountable.
Independent media, being free from direct control by governments or big corporations, play a vital role, promoting government accountability, combating corruption.
Right.
They often provide alternative perspectives. They're more likely to do in-depth investigative reporting on issues maybe overlooked or downplayed by mainstream media.
We're also seeing these grassroots platforms grow. What defines those?
Grassroots platforms are essentially decentralized, often community-driven alternatives to the big centralized social media and news platforms.
So less top-down.
Yeah, often operating on more egalitarian principles, emphasizing user autonomy, control. Many use open-source tech, aim to foster more direct, interconnected communities.
So the rise of these alternative news sources is really challenging the traditional dominance of mainstream media then.
Absolutely. By offering a wider range of perspectives, often digging deeper into specific issues, providing a platform for voices maybe not heard in traditional media, alternative sources are democratizing information dissemination.
Empowering individuals to seek out more viewpoints.
Potentially, yeah. Leading to potentially more informed citizens.
But with this shift to alternative platforms, are there downsides, negative consequences we should be aware of?
There can be, yes. Research analyzing platform data suggests the migration of certain online communities to alternative platforms can sometimes lead to increased toxicity, the spread of harmful content, other unintended negative consequences, especially if moderation policies are very different from mainstream platforms.
In countries where the government heavily controls traditional media, how crucial is independent digital media?
In those contexts, independent digital media often serve as a vital lifeline. For citizens seeking unbiased info, diverse perspectives, they can provide critical analysis of government actions, offer a platform for dissenting voices that are otherwise suppressed, contributing to a more informed public discourse.
It must be a big leap for journalists used to working in established media organizations to go independent. What are the main hurdles they face?
Independent journalists often face significant challenges. Financial instability is a big one, needing to build their own revenue streams, audiences.
Right, starting from scratch.
Exactly. And establishing credibility, reach in a very crowded media landscape. But despite these obstacles, many are drawn to the editorial freedom, the chance to pursue stories they feel are important without the constraints sometimes found in larger organizations.
We have certainly covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
From the details of our grocery bills to the fascinating science of longevity and the evolving ways we consume news.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected all these consumer trends are in our daily lives, doesn't it?
It really does. It's been a fascinating exploration showing the complex forces shaping our choices, our experiences as consumers today.
Indeed. It's been a really interesting dive, revealing those forces that shape things.
Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with us and providing such insightful analysis.
My pleasure. It's always valuable to connect you different.
So considering all these interconnected trends we've explored, inflation's impact, tech's potential, health factors, how we get information, what single emerging shift do you predict will have profound, the most widespread impact on our lives as consumers in, say, the next 5 years?